Okay, bye. Hey, I'm hoping that you can hear me, and if somebody can send something in the chat. I had a little bit of technical trouble getting started here, but we're ready to go now. Let me just find my glasses. So I'm looking for somebody to send me a message in chat that you can in fact hear. That would be much appreciated. Okay, see you and hear you. That's nice to know. Hooray. So welcome to the November Scottish Fiddle Club. And we have a special thing this month. Every month I pick a theme. And this month's theme is the music of Ronnie Cooper. And this is Ronnie Cooper from Shetland. He was a piano player and accordion player. He wrote a ton of tunes that we all know and love. Tunes like Callum Donaldson and Mickey Ainsworth, Miss Susan Cooper, quite a few very popular reels that get played all the time. Now, in his years, he was born in 1934. He died in 1982. And he was well known as a musician in his own time in Shetland. And it's kind of an interesting story how he turned to music. He actually started out in a different profession. And when he was a young man in his early 20s, his eyesight started to fail. And although that might have been a misfortune, he actually turned it into a good thing because he turned to music making as his primary profession. And that's to our good because he wrote so many great tunes. Now, Ronnie Cooper's tunes were published in the 1980s in a series of booklets that are really hard to find. And much more recently, this book that I showed you was published 2013. And I was recently able to get a copy of it because it's not that hard to find if you live in the UK, but it's probably harder to find if you don't. And I ordered it from Shetland, so I feel really happy that I was able to get this one and share Ronnie Cooper's music with you. So let me just play you a few of the things. I think we'll start in this case with a slow air. Just because this one is not too challenging to get your hands around. It's called Sunset over Fula, and Fula is one of the Shetland Islands, and there's a picture here on the page. Isn't that beautiful? It's a western view, looking westward from what they call Shetland mainland, the largest island in Shetland they call mainland. And if you look off the west coast of mainland Shetland, Fula is the last island before you get to unrelenting ocean. So sometimes they call Fula the edge of the world. And Sunset over Fula is our first tune. So let me play this for you. And that is Sunset over Fula. So why don't we learn this bit by bit? It's in the key of D. And one of the things I wish I could show you right here and right now is Ronnie Cooper's chords for this are just gorgeous. You know, he played piano style accordion and piano. He always thought about chords when he played. It's been of real interest to me to see the kinds of chords that were put with his music. It certainly gives a window on his personal style. So when you do have a chance to look at the sheet music or download the sheet music that's at the Potomac Valley Scottish Fiddle website, you'll see the chords and the bass lines that Ronnie Cooper put with this particular piece of music. All right, the pickup note is A. And now that you've all found that note, the first melody note of the tune is D. Excellent. Okay, so we've got let's find those notes. So pick up note of A, go up, back to D, down to an F sharp, landing on A. Let's try that again. I have one more note to add to complete the phrase because the A does not just stretch out, it changes to an F sharp. Here's how it goes. And that's our first 4-bar phrase. All right, there we go. So that is our first phrase. Don't hesitate to speak up in the live chat. I can see what you're saying. And if you send me a message like, please explain that again, or what was that note, or anything else, go ahead and do it. Otherwise, you can contact Pete, and Pete can text me and I can view his texts if you're not a person who's able to use the YouTube live chat. So let me play that first phrase again, and I'm going to add to it, and we'll work on the second phrase. That's the next thing that happens, is just climbing the scale. We just had at the end of the first phrase, and then we have an A, and climb the scale. Just going right up the scale from that A note. One more time. And to end that second phrase, F sharp and then a 5-count A note. So the second phrase in its entirety. Here it is again. All right, here is the first 2 phrases put together. And again. Once more. I'm hoping that you're ready to move on to the next phrase, but send me a message if you're not. It starts off with the same pickup note, but then it takes that contour of the melody and lifts it up a few notes. So at the first phrase we had, well, we're going to bump that up. All right, so that's bumping up to an F sharp. And we continue the phrase climbing down the scale. Let's play that much. And that's the true end of the phrase. That last A note completes the 4 bars. All right, I'm going to move on to the 4th phrase, which completes the first half of the tune. So we just had a long A. A D pickup note starts our 4th phrase. Then we go to B and climb the scale. Let's play that. And jump down to the F sharp. And down 1 note to land on E. E is the final note of the phrase, and it's 5 beats long, just as all of our final phrase endings are. So here's the 4th phrase put together. All right, so here are the second 8 bars of the tune. And again. All right, I'm going to keep going. And I can keep going because it also serves as a bit of review. The second 16 bars of the tune start out the same way as the beginning of the tune. Same 8 bars. Nothing has changed from the first 8 bars of the tune. Let's play it just one more time. Okay, we're heading into our final 8 bars, and part of it is the same as the second 8 bar phrase of the tune. In other words, we still have that A pickup note, and then we still go up to the F sharp and play that little scale passage. However, we're heading somewhere different now. Our first half of the tune ended unresolved. And there you are hanging, waiting for a resolution. In the second half, we do resolve it. So our first part of that last 8 bar phrase to an A note, we go to a B. Because this is going to take us to the new ending. So let's get that 4-bar phrase ending with the B. There we are. Okay, we're ready for the final wrap up. The last 4 bars of the tune, D pickup note. Then we go to A and back to D. So pickup note. And the ending, right down the scale from F sharp. And 5 counts. So here is the 4-bar phrase at the end. Again. And now I'm going to put together the entire 8-bar last phrase of the tune. Goes up high. Again. So that is the entire tune. It's 16 bars long in waltz time. I think of this tune as almost being a slow air. It just has that lovely slow air quality to it. Ronnie Cooper himself labeled it as a waltz. He loved to play for waltzes. He wrote a number of them, and in his book, this tune, Sunset over Fula, was often followed by another tune that he wrote called Ronus Vo. Vo is sort of the Shetland dialect term for what we might call a fjord. They have fjords in Shetland, and so it's a steep and narrow inlet of the sea, much longer than it is in width. And so these Vos in Shetland are subject of a number of tunes. They're called something Vo. So Sunset over Fula, I'm going to play the entire tune now and play along with at home if you like. If you remember how it started, what's our pickup note? A. Yes. I'm always glad when people remember the pickup notes. That's why I always make a point. You know where to start. Let's play it a few more times. I'm going to start adding in ornamentation as I go, just as it feels natural to do. This is Scottish music, and so Scottish style ornaments are always welcome. It doesn't get too soupy, so we're not doing too many slides into the notes or anything like that. Also, we're not looking for a whole lot of vibrato for those of you who are more classically inclined. Just a wee bit here and there. It's mostly about decorative ornaments. And remember, Ronnie Cooper was an accordion player, so he probably was not really doing vibrato or slides. Just not accordion things to do. But he might have had those reeds that make it sound like it's got a little bit of a warble to it, and he most certainly would have been using some ornamentation of some kind or other. So that is Sunset over Fula, one of Ronnie Cooper's slow pieces, a waltz, according to his reckoning. Well, let's see, what else do I have for you? I have a whole lot of nice tunes, and I think that next up I'll teach you one of his reels, because far and away, most of Ronnie Cooper's tunes are reels. They have a real distinctive feel to them. He almost single-handedly started a certain genre of reel. So it's a type of reel. I'm going to play some of the ones that we've learned of Ronnie Cooper in the past, just going through them real quickly so that you can get a notion of the Ronnie Cooper sound. So here is one of his most famous, the Tushkar. I might not play them all the way through, but I'll give you enough of an excerpt. Cooper. So I just wanted to say that there's a couple of things that we could notice right away about Ronnie Cooper reels. They tend to have this punctuation where they come to more or less a stop at the end of the phrase. That's a Ronnie Cooper signature. Also, I played you a tune in A and a tune in D. Almost every Ronnie Cooper tune is either in A or D. There are a few that are in radical keys like G. Yeah, so he did not write tunes in every key under the sun. And actually, that's a very Shetland thing to do. Most Shetland tunes of any sort are in A, D, or maybe G. And it's occasional that you get a Shetland tune in some other key, like A minor. So that really is not unique to Ronnie Cooper. But those Ronnie Cooper reels have a certain signature to them. I'm going to teach you a Ronnie Cooper reel called Neil Docherty, and it was written for a friend of his. Ronnie Cooper, once he turned to music making as his full-time profession, there were a number of places where he played regularly in Shetland, and a lot of his tunes were written for his neighbors, his friends, the people who supported the music making, and visitors who came to make music with him in Shetland, or people who played in bands with him. So this tune, Neil Docherty, it says Neil came to Shetland in the late 70s. He played the fiddle, and he was good friends with Ronnie. He had to move back to the mainland of Scotland and missed Shetland so much that he came back to Shetland and made it his home. And as soon as he returned, Ronnie Cooper had this tune waiting for him. Now, I first learned this tune by hearing Ali Bain play it. And at the time, I didn't know it was a Ronnie Cooper tune because it's slightly unusual for a Ronnie Cooper tune in that it has a bit of a modal feel. And Ronnie only wrote 2 tunes that have, that are basically in A, but with G naturals in them, that Mixolydian mode. There are only 2 Ronnie Cooper tunes like that, and this is one of them. So here's the reel. Okay, so that's the tune Neil Docherty, and it's in the key of A, and it's all about arpeggios. So let's do a little arpeggio practice to start off with. Let's start off with the key of A. So arpeggios, those are the notes that make up the chord in that key, and it's always the same notes relative to what key you're playing the arpeggio in. So if I'm playing in the key of A, I can play an A scale. And if I count the first note as 1, the arpeggio would be skipping the second note and going right to the third, and then skipping the fourth and going right to the fifth, and of course the next A note. So first, third, fifth, those are the notes of the arpeggio. Let's find them. C sharp, E, a little arpeggio practice in the key of A. Okay, good. Now let's switch to the key of D. Now in the key of D, your normal arpeggio would start on a D note, and I'm going to start on this D note. And the next note of the scale is E. We skip that. We go to the third note of the scale, F sharp. The next note of the scale would be a G. We're skipping that and going to the fifth note of the scale, the A. So the notes of our D arpeggio. Now I could play a high D, but we're leaving that out. Ronnie Cooper didn't use that note in this tune. So we're just going to play these 3 notes. Let's just find them. And now let's do an exercise on these arpeggio notes. You know what? We could go to the note below that, which goes down to that part of the arpeggio. But I think we'll leave the bottom notes out. Again, Ronnie did not use them in these tunes, not in this particular tune. So we're just not go any lower than this A. Let's use those 3 notes for an exercise. Okay, one more arpeggio I want you to focus on for this tune, G. So if we start on a G note, second note of the scale is A, we're going to skip it, we're going to go to the third note, we're going to skip the C note and go to the D, and we get 1, 3, and 5 of this key. Okay, well, you may be asking yourself, why all this arpeggio practice? Because this tune is basically an arpeggio exercise. If you have a teacher who says, you should practice your arpeggio, well, just play this tune and you're good. So this gives you A, D, and G arpeggio practice. Here's how it starts. Our pickup notes are some of the few notes that aren't actually arpeggio because it's going down the scale from E to D, 2 pickup notes. And the whole purpose there is to set us up to start on a C sharp, which is the arpeggio note number 3 of the A, C sharp, E arpeggio. Recognize those arpeggio notes? That's the first bar with the pickup notes. So the arpeggios are in groups of 3 notes, and they're against a beat, which is every 2 or 4, depending on how you want to think of it. So it's this cool interplay between the 3s of the arpeggio, the 3 notes of the arpeggio, and the 4 beats of 8th notes that make up a half of the measure. There it is in more rhythm. All right, next bar, second bar, we're doing the same type of pattern on the D arpeggio, starting on the note D. There we go. So our first 2 bars. It's not too fast. I'll try it just a little slower in case that's something you would like. All right. I'm going to give you the third bar. It's a lot like the first bar. Of course, there are no pickup notes because we're already in the middle of things. And the ending is just a little bit different because it's heading to a different 4th bar. So here's the third bar. last note is the only thing different. Instead of right up the arpeggio again, it goes, because that leads us to where we're going next. So here's the third bar in its entirety. All right, that's it. Here's the third bar leads into the fourth bar. So here's the fourth bar, and this is the one where we make use of the G arpeggio. Recognizing some patterns here, right? The arpeggios keep working in the same way, where they have the third and fifth note of the arpeggio, then 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5. It ends up being a total of 8 notes, which is eighth notes in a bar. This pattern keeps getting repeated. With the D arpeggio, we're not starting on the D, we're starting with an A note for a low note of the arpeggio. It's an inversion of the arpeggio, for those of you who know that term. In the fourth bar, there's one thing I didn't show you yet, which is, although the basic pattern is Ronnie built in an ornament. So instead of simply playing, we're playing 3 notes. Just like that, okay? And so here's the 4-bar phrase put together with the pickup notes. To repeat that, I'm going to run that on a loop a little bit. Okay, let's try that a few times through. The first time with the pickup notes. Next 4-bar phrase. The first 2 bars of it, precisely the same. So we're just ready for our fancy ending. You ready for the real fancy ending here? Scale. Here's the bar 7 of the phrase. Starts on an E. We go up to the high A and right down the scale from there. Easy enough, right? Let's try it. Next note's got to be A, right? So the last bar is arpeggio. go to the high A, down the arpeggio, and land back on A. So the last two bars put together. If you know your scales and you know your arpeggios, you're golden for this tune. So let's just tack that on to the final phrase. This is the last 4 bars of the tune. And there I was playing the first phrase. You know what? I will play the last phrase this time. Last 4 bars of the A part. Here it is. And a scale. There we go. So let's do the entire A part. The first time, it goes back to the A arpeggios with 1 note of an A to prep for the G arpeggio at the end of the phrase. Second time, it has the A arpeggio, D arpeggio, scale, and final arpeggio. So here's the A part of Neil Docherty. The B part is more arpeggios, but they're a little different in their arrangement. We're going up high. The pickup notes are 3 notes in the scale, starting on the note E, right up to a G sharp, and you know we're headed to an A. So you can think of this different ways. If you think of this as, then it changes. But if you think of it as 2 notes, and then 3, and then 3 more, which are the same, I think that kind of helps. So it's only in rhythm. Let's try that a few more times. The next measure, parallel pattern, only now we're dealing with the key of D. So our notes are at high A, F sharp, and D. So again, if you think of it in terms of 2, 3, and 3 notes, and then up the arpeggio 2 times. So it's is the same as the first. So thinking again in terms of 2 notes, 3 and 3, C sharp, repeated with that C sharp, E, A trio. One more time on that. And then our 4th bar, we're now in the key of G. So our first 2 notes are G, D. And then our arpeggio is B, D, G, and again. And putting it in rhythm. If you're a fiddle player, you can see that I'm keeping my fingers down. So these 2 fingers, the high G note and the B note on the A string, have stayed in place for the entire time. So it saves me a whole lot of finger placement. So we now have 4 bars of the B part. Our pickup notes were what? Yeah, a little scale going up from the note E, just like that. So after we have our pickup notes, we keep having the same pattern of 2 notes, 3 notes, 3 notes on the various arpeggios. Tune, and we actually have no new elements to learn. We just have to put them in the right order. So the last part of this tune starts by repeating the beginning of the B part. So again with the arpeggios. And now we're going to take the entire 2-bar ending of the A part, slap it on the B part, and we're done. Do you remember what that was? The scale and the big arpeggio for the end. So here is the ending. So last phrase of the tune. do the entire B part. 16 bars, well, it's 8 bars repeated, but it has a lot of repeated elements. Even within each bar, there's a lot of repeated elements. So just you're shifting from A arpeggio pattern to D arpeggio pattern, back to the same A to the G arpeggio pattern. Then you do it again, A pattern, D pattern, scale, final arpeggio. Let's go back to the beginning of the tune. Do you remember how it started? What were the pickup notes? If you're thinking, you're totally right, because that pattern starts a little lower. Reel Neil Docherty by Ronnie Cooper. I hope you enjoyed that one. And I'm going to move it along to another Ronnie Cooper tune, assuming that you're ready for that. And I'm going to teach you a jig. I told you that Ronnie Cooper's tunes were mainly reels, like by a huge, huge margin. This book of tunes, Ronnie Cooper's book of tunes, we have one strathspey, 5 waltzes, a march, a couple other marches, a few other marches, and then we get on to jigs, of which there are about 6 jigs. And then from there on out, pretty much the entire rest of the book is reels. So he loved those reels. But this jig is a real favorite. It was one of the first Ronnie Cooper tunes I learned, besides some of the obvious favorites that many of you already know. And I just want to point out that we have had, in Fiddle Club, we've had the Headlands March. That was in book 23, page 1. So quite recently, that's a Ronnie Cooper march. We had a number of Ronnie Cooper tunes in book 8. So if you're interested in a retrospective, we've got the Tushkar and Gordon's Favorite and Miss Susan Cooper in book 8. In book 19, we had 3 more Ronnie Cooper tunes. Old Willie Hunter, Mickey Ainsworth, and Gordon's Favorite. We had Callum Donaldson in book 20. And so quite a few Ronnie Cooper tunes have entered our Fiddle Club repertoire over the years. Anyway, Jim Anderson's Delight is one that I've been holding off on until I could do a Ronnie Cooper feature like this. So here's how the tune goes. Ronnie Cooper is very clear on this jig being dotted. He's actually really clear on that for all of his jigs. And I think this has to do with him being an accordion player. And Scottish accordion players have a very, very noticeable tendency to want to punctuate their jigs with that very heavy dotting. Sometimes they do it extremely. I don't know if Ronnie Cooper himself tended to dot to the extreme, but he certainly favored dotting in his jigs. It's really clear from the way they're all notated. So in the Fiddle Club music, I put dots on selected triplets in the jig. And the notion is that when you're reading that sheet music later, dot everything. It's meant to be throughout. All right, our pickup note for this tune, which is, I should tell you what it is. I didn't mention the name. It's Jim Anderson's Delight. So Jim Anderson was a friend of Ronnie Cooper. And like many of Ronnie Cooper's friends, he ran a hotel which had a music session in it on a regular basis. So this was Jim Anderson worked at the Queen's Hotel, and he would often be there personally, serving drinks at the bar during the session when Ronnie Cooper and Frank Jameson would play, and they started regular sessions there. So I should mention Frank Jameson. He was a great friend of Ronnie Cooper and another Shetland musician, fiddler in this case. And he and Ronnie played together many, many times, wrote tunes for each other. So Jim Anderson would have been there listening to the two of them play, and Ronnie most likely would have introduced this tune right at that very session and then told Jim Anderson it was for him. So let me play you the first phrase in its entirety. Here's the pickup note, F sharp. Let's find that. And then we're going to play the first triplet, E, A, A. And next is right down the scale from C sharp and now we go up the scale from E. We'll stop there for the moment. Adding 2 notes. So add those 2 notes at the end. So we had a question in the chat as to whether Jim Anderson is a relation of Tom Anderson. Not that I know of. However, Anderson is a pretty common name in Shetland, so it would not surprise me if they were related distantly somehow. Ronnie Cooper, in fact, used to play in a band with a guy named Eddie Cooper, and they weren't close relatives, but perhaps they were distantly related. But, you know, they weren't really the Cooper brothers. So, Jim Anderson's Delight, let me give you the first 2 bars put together. Let's do that again. All right, I'm going to move along since this is our third by ear tune. And we're going to do a similar feeling figure in that it's this large jump and then scale work. However, different notes. So this F sharp to a B note. So just find that triplet. And following that, we have 3 triplets that are each a scale. Up the scale, down from B, and then down from A. So there's a little bit of backtracking. So the scale parts, up from F, F sharp, down from B, and down from A. In rhythm, now that's starting in the middle of a bar. So let's put the beginning of that third bar on. It's the jump from F sharp to B. Let's play that through a couple times. Here's the beginning again. Second phrase. Let's do it again. approached, but not exactly the same. So here's where it's different. So far the same. Yeah, it's only different by one note. So instead of ending on the A, it's heading downward to the F sharp so that we can continue down the scale for the ending of this piece. So here's bars 5 and 6, the second 4-bar phrase of the tune. And the ending of the tune continues downward. Scale, arpeggio. Last 2 bars of the phrase. And again with that. The last 4 bars of the A part. Same thing. From the top, with what pickup note? F sharp, yes. Goes up. Goes down. Repeat the whole thing. I'm going to continue to the next part, since this is our third by ear tune, and I want to make sure to get to the other tunes today. So the second part of this tune has a little bit more of use of arpeggios. Mainly, it's just this one phrase. So let's learn this bit. We're going to keep arpeggio-wise bouncing back to a high A note, that note. And we're going to have an E and then C sharp. So let's just get those notes in our fingers here. And again. Okay. Literally, you have just learned everything you need to know about the B part, because everything else is just plugging that arpeggio phrase into the beginning of each phrase of music from the A part, and voila, you have B part. So it includes the F sharp pickup note, then our arpeggio, climb the scale, same thing. Now the arpeggio comes up again. This time headed down, scales. Well, did that sound familiar? It should, because all we did was take the first bar of each 4-bar phrase, substitute this high arpeggio bouncy thing, and everything else, every other note was the same. So at this point, let's do that one more time, and then we'll do a direct comparison with the A part and the B part. But here's the B part, our new 8-bar phrase of the B part. I want to do the direct comparison with the A part. Here's the beginning of the A part. And here's the B. So there we go. I think we've revealed something, which is that Ronnie Cooper had, as a composer, a tendency to do some very significant recycling, reusing not just pieces of the A part and the B part, but sometimes wholesale, almost the entire phrase. And this is I'd say two things about it. For one thing, it's very convenient. Makes them easier to learn because you're recycling so much material. It's a somewhat simple structure, but it's also very clever because it illustrates how a small change like that can actually transform a piece of music. So reusing, 75% of it, and you still get a new part to the tune. It's clearly related to the A part, and yet it's different. It's a simple change, and it works. Another composer who did this with great success is J. Scott Skinner. He used the same formula over and over and over and over again and created some really amazing tunes that way. Some of the most popular tunes are created off of a very simple model, a structural model that's obviously a big success. So it worked for Ronnie Cooper too. And if you look at his tunes, there's a good number of them that follow a formula with great success. So we're not quite done yet with Jim Anderson's Delight. Let's go back to the B part and go through it just to get it in mind, and then I'll tell you what happens next. Starts out by repeating. But the last 4 bars of the B part are a reprise of the A part. So back to the A part's theme measure. So there we go. And now I want to play the entire B part, 16 bars with you, so you can hear exactly how that fits in. You can play along if you want. Do the entire tune so we can play the complete Jim Anderson's Delight. Our theme for the first part is this note, and the theme in the B part plugged into the same structure. Don't forget to go back to the A theme at the end of the B part. Let's play it. right. So that is Jim Anderson's Delight. And I'm thinking that that's probably about enough for tunes by ear. We've spent a good time on it. So now's the time to write into the chat and give me your opinions as to whether you want more tunes by ear or not. So I know that this morning there was a little bit of difficulty in getting sheet music printed out. The sheet music's supposed to be on the Potomac Valley Scottish Fiddle Club main page on the morning of the workshop. And thanks to Bill, who let me know that it was not working, and I passed that along to Pete, and hopefully Pete was able to fix that in time for some of you to get your sheet music downloaded. If you didn't manage to do that, you might want to see if you can get that to happen now, because I'm going to switch to teaching the rest of the tunes from sheet music. And I definitely have one vote from Becky for sheet music, so I'll be heading that way. I'm going to mention a few more things about Ronnie Cooper. So this lovely book, as I said, is a republication of Ronnie Cooper tunes. Formerly, it's pretty hard to come by the publications which were made in the 70s or 80s of Ronnie Cooper's tunes. They were very limited in edition, and they went out of print almost right away. This book has a whole bunch of pictures of Ronnie Cooper playing with various people. So, for example, Tom Anderson's group, the 40 Fiddlers, which included Tom Anderson and quite a few well-known fiddlers. Ronnie Cooper is playing piano with them. And then I'll show you a few other pictures. Let's see. Let's find. Oh, here we go. So here's Ronnie Cooper playing the accordion in this case. That's Ronnie Cooper playing in one of his dance bands. And the fiddler sitting next to him is Willie Hunter. And I told you how he had his, not really his brother, Eric Cooper, unrelated, playing piano in that group. So this is a pretty typical Scottish country dance band of that era, playing for country dances or ceilidhs, two accordions, fiddle, piano, bass, and percussion. That's a real typical lineup. Okay, so I'm going to go on with playing some tunes from sheet music, and I do hope you have the sheet music for this one. On page 6 of this month's music, we have a tune called Hayfield House. Hayfield House was a hotel. It was run by Ronnie Cooper's cousin, Lillian Chadwick. He also wrote a tune for Lillian herself. And here's a picture of the hotel. And the Hayfield House Hotel had sessions on a regular basis. And when traveling musicians came to Shetland, they would often stay at the Hayfield House because that was where the music happened. So that is that's part of the history of the tune's title. Let me play it for you. This is a little bit tricky. So let's have it. Obviously, Ronnie was not too concerned about whether it sat real easy on the fiddle because, hey, it worked on the accordion and it worked on the piano. trickery with the string crossings and fingerings. It's a great tune. I love it. So I'm just gonna learn to play it a little better, right? So let's play Hayfield House a bit slower for starters. Sorry, I played that wrong. Dang it. Okay, we're in the second A part. B part. Hayfield House, a site of many, many fine sessions in Shetland. All right, on page 7, we learned Sunset over Fula by ear, so we're going to move right along to Scalloway Voe. I told you before that the Voes in Shetland are fjords, and there is no picture of Scalloway Voe in this book. Here's a picture of Rona Voe, but that's not the same place. No picture for Scalloway Voe. Anyway, the tune is a lovely one, and here it is for you. This is one of those tunes in the key of G. So one thing I wish I could do here would be to play the chords for you, because they certainly they add a certain feel to it, and I think it's kind of an authentic sort of way that Ronnie Cooper might have just wanted you to hear it with the chords so that you could get the sentiment he was going after. So let's play this through again, and let's just play it a couple of times, and if you want to try playing along with the chords at home, that'll give you a more complete picture. I'm going to stick with melody just because of the format we're doing here. So that's Scalawevo, and I hope you enjoyed that one. On page 8, we have Ronnie Cooper's one and only Strathspey. The Strathspey was specifically written for the 40 fiddlers, which is the title of this Strathspey is the Shetland Fiddlers Society, and these are the Shetland Fiddlers Society, and there they are again. And the reason they became, this is a group that Tom Anderson started specifically to revitalize and carry on the tradition of Shetland fiddling. And they became known as the 40 Fiddlers because at one of their early meetings, 40 fiddlers showed up, and it just kind of stuck. There have been all kinds of numbers of fiddlers in this group. It was never membership restricted to the first 40 or anything like that. But a sizable group of fiddlers, and these days a younger generation taken over, and there still is a Shetland Fiddlers Society. And at one point, some of Tom Anderson's students, and even students of the students, came to visit Fiddle Club. That was many years ago. So I just want to say Strathspeys are not common in Shetland. The favored type of tune in Shetland is the reel. Shetland reels are distinctive. Many of you know them. Some of the traditional tunes like Willefjord, and tunes that are not so actually traditional but are masquerading as traditional, like Spootiskerry, which was written by Ian Burns from Lerwick in Shetland. In more recent times, but feels traditional. Anyway, Ronnie Cooper's tunes kind of fall into that category of tunes that have become iconically Shetland, but are not necessarily of ancient lineage. But a lot of people know them and associate them with the whole Shetland style. But those are reels. Strathspeys in Shetland, quite rare. When they do play Strathspeys in Shetland, the northeast style in Scotland is favored. And so this Ronnie Cooper Strathspey feels not too unlike some of the Scott Skinner Strathspeys. So why don't you have a listen? So let's go ahead and play the Shetland Fiddlers Society Strathspey. Let's start a little slower. take it a little bit faster, I want to mention a couple of style points. One is that triplets in strathspeys like this are not necessarily played dead straight. So we have groups of triplets in the second part in particular. So that would be a kind of dull way to play them. So you put a little bit of push and pull, not on the main beat, which is still solid, but the space between where those beats happen. So you hear how there's some lilt on it. And on back-to-back triplets, it's not necessarily going to be lilted exactly the same way. So it's not meant to be something that sounds absolutely regular. It's meant to be something that provides a contour to the melody. All right, let's play again from the beginning. The Shetland Fiddlers Society, Strathspey by Ronnie Cooper. So that's the Shetland Fiddlers Society. We learned Jim Anderson's Delight by ear. So I'm going to go on to page 9 where we have a tune called Johnny Johnson. Oh, I should mention, while we're looking at Jim Anderson's Delight, there's a missing note. It's in the B part and it's in bar 8 of the B part, and there's a missing pickup note. So it's midway through the B part and you just had that ending. And that pickup note F sharp is missing from the page. I'll fix that and have that posted online. You can print out a substitute page if you want, or you can just write it in on your own sheet music. On page 9, we have Johnny Johnson. And let's see, what I think that Johnny Johnson was a guy that that used to attend the regular lunchtime session at the Lounge Bar in Lerwick. It was one of the regular sessions that Ronnie ran. And he came from Walls, which is another town in Shetland. And so we'd sit down with the musicians, listen to the music, and then he'd take the bus back home to Walls. And so Ronnie wrote this tune for him because he was such a regular listener and also a musician himself, as one of Ronnie's few tunes in the key of G. So, and it's also it has a different pacing from almost all of Ronnie Cooper's other reels. I've designated it as a Scots measure because you can hear quarter note rhythms, dum bum bum, dum bum bum, dum bum bum, da dum bum bum, all throughout this tune. There in quite a few places. Here's Johnny Johnson. has some fun things in the chords. The chords are very accordion oriented. I can just, sort of picture Ronnie Cooper with his accordion playing this tune with these chords for this guy who was a regular listener and sometimes joined the sessions. So let's play Johnny Johnson. We'll start a little slow and then I'll work the tempo up. Johnny Johnson. All right, well, the next tune is one called The Left-Handed Tushkar. And I think we better start with what's a regular Tushkar look like. And there is a picture in this book. Here we go. Now, a Tushkar is a peat cutting tool. So it's the traditional hand cutting tool for making stacks of peat bricks. And I was prepared to be super impressed by this photo where the guy has two peats in the air and one on the Tushkar and a peat bank and a stack of peats. And then I looked at the picture and every one of those peats has the exact same edges. So it's just a duplicate of the same piece of peat. But that's a Tushkar in action. And, they cut, they fling, they stack. And obviously it's a handedness to this tool. So if you have a Tushkar that's right-handed, you got to have one that's left-handed. And that's what this one is about. So I'm going to play the full regular Tushkar because this is one that you may already know just for reference, and then I'll go play the left-handed Tushkar immediately afterwards. So the first one you hear is the Tushkar. slower because I'm not as familiar with the tune. So here's the left-handed Tushkar. That's how it's supposed to go. All right, so that is the left-handed Tushkar. We're going to play it a little slower than that. And I'm going to point out one small error in the sheet music, which is in the B part, bar 8 of the B part. It's written, and it's actually just supposed to be quarter notes there. So there's an extra B eighth note that's slipped in, and it's supposed to be the same ending as every 8-bar ending in this tune. All right, let's play this slowly. I didn't do that right. Second phrase. Let's repeat the A part. on our last page of today's music, we have two more reels. These are in the key of D. And the first one is Marie Pottinger's reel. Other than some of Ronnie Cooper's greatest hits like Callum Donaldson or Mickey Ainsworth or Milbray or any of the others that I've previously mentioned, there's sort of like a second tier of his other greatest hits. Marie Pottinger's is one of those. And let me see what I have to say about her. The Pottingers were Ronnie Cooper's neighbors. And there's a tune called Pottingers that Tom Anderson wrote. I think that we might have had that one in Fiddle Club already. And that one was written for Mr. Pottinger, John Pottinger, Ronnie Cooper's neighbor. And Marie was John Pottinger's wife, and she gets her own reel from Ronnie Cooper. Now, I guess Ronnie Cooper also got a reel that John Pottinger wrote for him. I didn't include that because this is about Ronnie Cooper tunes. But there's like this whole group of people writing tunes for one another in a friendly and neighborly way. I like it. So here's Marie Pottinger's reel by Ronnie Cooper. Taking it a bit slower. come to our last tune to learn, which is Jimmy Lindsay. Jimmy Lindsay is an accordion player, and there's no picture of him in here. He visited Shetland in the 1970s when Ronnie Cooper was playing at the Hayfield Hotel, which we already learned, the Hayfield House. We already saw that one. And he still plays accordion. In fact, he came to play at Scottish Weekend right around here just a few years back. So trying to think how many years ago. But just a few years back, Jimmy Lindsay came to play in our area. So here's the tune that Ronnie Cooper wrote for him. Like Marie Pottinger's, it's one of those supremely charming tunes where, if you didn't already know Callum Donaldson or Mickey Ainsworth, you might say, wow, that's one of Ronnie Cooper's best tunes. So I'm really happy to introduce Marie Pottinger's and Jimmy Lindsay tunes to Fiddle Club. And I hope you all enjoy this. So let's play this one through slower and then work it up to speed. Why don't we go through a few of the pieces that we learned by ear? Does anybody remember Neil Docherty? Let's give it a shot. Okay, so that one was the one that had all the arpeggios in it. Sunset over Fula. Jim Anderson's Delight. Tunes, but let me remind you of a couple of very important things. Tonight we are having a jam session, and we have a new format for the jam session. In addition to having it available here on YouTube, so just go to the Potomac Valley Scottish Fiddle.org website, and you can access the YouTube link for the jam. You can suggest tunes for the jam via the live chat in YouTube, or you can email them to info@pvsfc.org. And you can also join the jam session via Zoom. There's a Zoom link that is available to members. You should have received an email with the Zoom link if you're a member of the Potomac Valley Scottish Fiddle Club. And the advantage of the Zoom connection is that you can lead a tune. So I'm really hoping that some of you will want to lead your own tunes and join us for the session tonight. We're going to take a break, come back at 6:30 for the live jam, and join via Zoom if you want to lead a tune, and join via YouTube if you want to suggest a tune by chat. And we'll try to honor all those requests and have a great jam session tonight. So see you fairly soon. And if I don't see you at the jam, see you next month for our online workshop. Thank you.